At the end of the podcast last week, I said "Go Jets?" ? That is still the same thing. Go Jets ? This is the Jets Light Squad. I'm Italy Jet. We got Gunny Gumby situation report on the bottom, and to my left is DKBxJets. Gunny, how are you doing, man? Because this is a week by week, hour by hour, minute by minute. What's up?
I think I've just gotten to the point now where I'm just numb to it all. I think that is the safest emotion I can have is to just be numb. I don't know what to expect from this team. I don't think anybody does. The way they played yesterday was lights out football, complimentary football, offense, defense, special teams. It looks like a team that you would think has been on a freaking winning streak, not the team that had just lost five, losing games to the Chargers, losing games to the freaking Raiders of all teams. Yet I'm sitting here on Victory Monday where I can at least hold my head up high in Texas, in Houston. Nobody's wishing me condolences today about being a Jets fan.
There you go.
So that's a plus. But I still stand here confused and conflicted because in New York Jets fashion, we won a game that most likely will mean nothing come season's end, but it will push us further and further down the draft board. Which to me, limits the ability to put more weapons around Aaron Rodgers next season when we're really making a push. But man, I just at this point I'm rolling with the punches, man. I'm numb to it. Jets won. I'm not mad. I'll never be mad about a Jets victory, but it sucks when you look at these victories and you don't really see it amounting to anything because we started to care a little too late as an organization. So I'm just numb, man. I'm just numb to it.
DK, how you feeling, brother?
I mean, I'll never be hurt over a victory Monday, right? We sorely needed it. We talked about it. We need at least one win down the final stretch. We thought it'd probably be the Pats over the Texans. But, same boat, right? With Gunny, basically more questions than answers. We've seen this with Zach before. Granted, this is his by far best performance. But, I don't know. The question of the day, I suppose, would be, is there anything Zach can do to save his Jets career, right? I think that's ultimately what you have to figure out here. If he has another 5 games like this, right, does that start to change the narrative? You say, okay, we got the best version of Zach in 2023. We have Aaron Rodgers at least for another year. You actually give him his redshirt year. You do some kind of, I don't know. Let's take Jordan Love's contract extension as kind of the basis here, right? You give him 2 years to kind of prove himself in 2025 and beyond. Who knows what can happen by then? But I'm just over the whole theatrical situation with Zach Wilson. The only granted takeaway that I have here is that we've finally seen an offense click here, and so everything kind of came together in the second half, right? You're finally playing with the lead. You've seen how the defense clamped down. You finally seen Tyler Conklin look the way we expect him to look. You finally see Garrett Wilson dominate the way we want him to dominate. Even though Breece Hall hasn't been good on the ground in like a month, we've seen him destroy people in the receiving game, which we've been asking to get him more involved there. So you're seeing the elements of what I want to say this. I don't want to say top tier because I still think it looks even better under Aaron Rodgers, right? But you see the high end spectrum of how this offense can perform, right? So one of the things that I've been struggling with, because I've seen it on a ton of comments and stuff, everybody's praising Zach Wilson, right? Elite career day. You have all of the Zach Wilson fans coming back out of the woodwork saying, this is the guy, all of that stuff. Where's Nathaniel Hackett's praise, right? Where we have this weird split where when things go well, we give all the attention to Zach Wilson. Hey, he's hitting his weapons. He's seeing the field. He's dominating a defense. And then Nathaniel Hackett's just out there on the back burner. So, is it his creative play calling? Are we actually just seeing his scheme be executed the way it's supposed to be finally, right? I've been on the far less side of people that I haven't had a ton of issues with Nathaniel Hackett, right? Hot take, whatever. I don't think he's been the sole issue for stuff like we've seen with Mike LaFleur to a degree, but it's the same situation. Zach Wilson finally executed his offense. Yes, the play calling was probably a tad bit better, but like he hit on a ton of stuff he hasn't hit on all season. Almost every single throw to Tyler Conklin, he dimed that thing with the linebacker trailing him. He would have never took those risks before. So like, give Nathaniel Hackett his fair share too, right? His scheme works. We have the talent to see it work. Zach Wilson hasn't done shit prior to the Chiefs game before this. And then now this Texans game where you really see that on display. So I'm hoping we kind of see that continue. But who knows? I'm not holding fingers, right? Immediately after the Texans game, it was funny enough because I was thinking about the schedule because I knew the playoff talk was going to come up. I was like, it's just perfect timing that, of course, we're rolling to the Dolphins. So, like, all of the feel-good stuff is going to go right out the window once everybody figures out the next opponent again.
And it's crazy. The last time I think we scored 3 touchdowns in one half was against the Dolphins last year. Right?
I think it was I think I saw something that said like the Broncos in 2021 or something. Or it might have been the last time that we had like an actual 30-point game where the defense or special teams didn't help. That might have been what it was.
And then Zach Wilson's like numbers over 300 passing yards, 2 TDs. Passer rating is 117.9 and his best game ever. Like, everything as Jets fans, as you could see the highlights, right? It's our cornerbacks are top 5 always. I mean, the new ratings came out. And it's unbelievable. What saw 6 targets, only 2 catches on 11 yards. DJ Reed, I mean, locking it down as usual. Michael Carter 3 locking it down as usual. In this defense, it's crazy. I mean, Gunny, you've talked about this the last couple of weeks. It's amazing when we get a lead, how much better, and we couldn't even take that's even possible. How this defense could be even better.
Yep.
When we have a lead by 30.
I think we should have expected it. They've been playing with the expectation that they have to save the offense the entire year.
Yep.
And not only that, we had more safeties than touchdowns, more than any NFL team in the last few weeks.
Yeah, that's
crazy.
I seen that like 2 weeks ago.
2 touchdowns, bro. I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
It's unbelievable. Just like Jets fashion, the Jets way. And according to Tankathon, we are now number 9 on the draft board.
Draft pick?
9. Yes.
Yeah, no, this one killed us, man. We dropped all the way from 6 to number 9. So, like, at this point now, like, fall out of the top 10, you might as well just go ahead and win out just for pride's sake, right? If I'll say this, if we're gonna go ahead and not get into the playoffs, we gotta at least beat the Patriots, man. Like one of these horrible like stretches or records have to die this year. If we're not gonna break the playoff drought, then we're going to kill the New England Patriots like beating our ass drought. We've got to at least do that. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's weird because now we're all jumping. But even myself, I'm over here like, man, we're still in the conversation. There's this many injuries going on. If this goes right, if the Jets beat the Dolphins, like we have literally the easiest stretch of games to earn a playoff spot. But why am I doing this to myself? We all know what's going to happen. We've all been here before. When it matters most, this team won't show up. This game, nobody cared. Hell, Zach Wilson said, what are they going to do to me? They're going to bench me again?
Bench me?
I don't care. What are they going to do? There was nothing on the line. It didn't matter, so the kid went out and he played. But once pressure starts to get applied and he needs to perform, I don't know if the kid can, man. And we've talked about this numerous times. It's not that we question Zach Wilson's arm talent. I believe wholeheartedly this kid has top 5 arm talent in the NFL. I believe that. But mentality-wise, it's too inconsistent. He doesn't showcase it enough. He made a throw yesterday to Rutgers, where he
he dimed that thing coming off the boundary.
God, enough touch and zip to it to where it got to. I was like, wow.
And it went past almost his hand. It went over a little bit, just over the fingertips of his hand.
That's what Zach does, man. He's able to do these things. Unfortunately, mentally, he just can't keep it together for long stretches of games. And I don't know, man. I don't know. Like I said before, I'm just numb to it. I'm gonna watch each game with hope in my eyes and pray that we at the very least beat the Patriots at the end of the season, because we're gonna fall out of a top 10 draft pick now. It's just a matter of which game we're going to win down the stretch that does it. I don't know if we're going to get the help we need for the Jets to make the playoffs. I just don't see it. I think the Browns have it pretty easy going forward. I'm not worried about the Bills too much, but I think the Texans have it easier going forward. Even the Bengals have looked, respectable without freaking Joe Burrow. So, like, there's just too many components that we're gonna need from these other teams to like fall on their faces for us to make it. But look, like I said before, I'm not gonna cry and whine about winning and beating a game, especially when it's a team that like I live in their like territory. Everyone's always got something to say. It was nice today to not hear people talk about condolences to being a Jets fan, so I will take that. I'm going to enjoy that this week.
I will say this, though. With the Texans, though, I will say this. They got the Titans, the Browns.
They can win.
See, the Titans, the Browns, they got the Titans twice.
Yeah, they're
the
Colts or in division.
Colts and Browns. So you got that. And then what was another team that you were talking about? The Bengals?
The Browns.
Right?
The Browns probably have the easiest route to securing one of those slots.
Okay, we'll go to the Browns now. But without C.J. Stroud, do you think they could get done with Mills? Because you don't know how long a concussion protocol he will be in.
Mills was pretty nice last year. People keep talking. Like, Mills actually did his thing last year. Like, he was an average NFL quarterback. So it wouldn't surprise me if Mills comes out here with a better coaching staff and actually put up better stats than he did last year. So I have a hard time thinking that the Texans are out of it. But if we tie in terms of the record, we do have the tiebreaker. So that'd be a plus for us.
So they got the Bears, the Texans, the Jets, and the Bengals. This is the Browns.
That's the Browns. Yep.
And then the Bengals, their last 4 games are against the Vikings, Steelers, Chiefs, and then the Browns. Yeah.
What about the Steelers? The Steelers are ahead of us too.
They got the last wild card spot.
And the Broncos are ahead of us too.
Steelers, Colts, Texans, Broncos, Cincy, Bills, Chargers, Raiders.
So Steelers got the Colts, and then they got the Bengals, and then Seahawks, and then their last game's against the Ravens.
Oh yeah, they're out. They're out of the playoffs. They're not winning 3 of those games.
And then what was the other team? There's one more, right?
Denver, the Broncos.
Denver, there we go. So as I pull it up, looks like their last 4 is the Lions, Patriots, Chargers, and Raiders.
Those could all be wins for Denver. Chargers just lost freaking Justin Herbert. Not to mention they couldn't win with him, so they're trash. You said
that Lions. Comeback win, the comeback win then the Bears come back and win.
The Bears came back and won against the Lions, right? Yeah, the Lions now have looked like crap since their bye week. I don't know what the hell happened to them, but they've fallen off a cliff, so they can be beat. Like, the Broncos could legitimately win out with their current regime left. Like,
they are number 2 right now. Yeah, they're ranked number 2. They could definitely keep up with the Chiefs right now. I think,
agreed,
100%. AFC West. Ravens
we're fighting really for the last wild card spot, if you ask me. And it's going to come down to
the 8th or 9th one, right? That's the 8th or 9th spot?
The 9th one. I think the 9th one we're fighting for. It's going to come down to the Jets, the Texans, the Colts. Steelers?
Yeah, Steelers, correct.
Bills and Bengals.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people fighting for that last spot.
And you know what's crazy? They're all fighting with injuries. Like, everyone has major injuries on each team,
except for the Bills. Bills really are the healthiest in this thing, but they also have the toughest schedule remaining.
They do.
Like,
their last 4 games.
It's a gauntlet, bro. Like, they're about to be like in it.
Here, their last 4 games are the Chargers, Cowboys, Patriots, and Dolphins.
They'll lose to the Dolphins, and then they'll lose to the Cowboys. And it wouldn't surprise me if they lost to the Patriots, because those division games are always freaking weird, and it wouldn't surprise me if Bill decides to go ahead and take one last stab at smacking somebody in the AFC East before freaking he gets fired this offseason.
Yeah, I can see it, because they're already eliminated for sure. Now, let's go back. I love this from Zach, but it's too late from Zach, because all the rumors are going around. I don't think he's going to be, even if he wins out, I still don't think he's going to come back next year. This should have been the mentality, what he should have had earlier. I know we talked about it a little bit, but he told me, according to DJ Reed, I'm playing for y'all. I've got nothing to lose. What's the worst they could do and happen? What, am I going to get benched again? Where was that before? That's where I'm keep going. And with the back quarterback situation, where was that before? But now we're going into the Dolphins week. Dolphins didn't they win? They won their last game, right?
Yep,
They
they're
won
playing tonight. They'll win tonight.
Sorry, yes, they're playing tonight. And I forgot who it's against. Who's against?
The Titans.
Titans. I can easily see that being a win, and they're going to come off that game with a win.
Yep.
Going
10-4 or 10-3, whatever they are.
Since Zach Wilson is going to be the starter the rest of the season, what it looks like, and do you think they're going to keep going with the Rucker and keep going with Izzy and seeing what they? I mean, we saw even Lazard had a little bit of an appearance, and Gibson has been on a roll. Do they still continue with this? Do they still continue feeding those guys more and more?
I mean, yeah, at this point, why not, right? Like you get to get an idea of what you have going into next year. It can prioritize what you wind up doing in the draft, what you wind up doing in free agency. I don't think anybody's going to question that there's going to be another wide receiver in this building. Now, falling outside of the top 5, you're not getting an MHJ, and to me, he's the only individual who I think is considered a generational talent in this particular draft. So I don't think another wide receiver at that particular in the draft makes any sense. At that point now, you go after a Mike Evans, you go after a Calvin Ridley. I know everybody wants Devontae Adams, but the more and more I think about it, I don't want to trade assets to get Devontae Adams. I just don't. Unless the Raiders are going to release him, I don't see him being a viable option for the Jets. I do believe wholeheartedly we are going to see freaking Bakatari here next year with the Jets. It's just too many coincidences in terms of things he's posted, him and Aaron Rodgers. Like he's going to be on the radar for the Jets next year. But seeing what we currently have now, I think will dictate the moves we make in the draft. And I don't believe we're going to be seeing MHJ after all. Do we wind up now taking Joe Alt? I don't know if he falls to, number 10 pick or whatever the case might be, but it changes the dynamic, man. So at the very least, see what you have in your young players so you understand what you have to build around and what you need to add to the team to help Aaron Rodgers next year compete for a title. Because in all actuality, the Aaron Rodgers experiment to me is a complete failure if we're not at least in the AFC Championship game.
What you thinking, DK?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I've been at with it before. I think that's the only way you can look at acquiring Aaron Rodgers and say, all right, it was, I don't know. At this point, if you don't win a Super Bowl, anything less than championship is a failure. If you at least get to the championship, I would say it's semi-successful. But the expectation the whole time was fully that we were going to walk away with at least one ring. Yep. We had a 1 to 3 year window. 1 year's wasted by injury. And I won't say wasted by injury, wasted by poor planning, because we had ways to try to save this season. Yep. Next year, full on Super Bowl expectations. It doesn't matter if we go veteran heavy. It doesn't matter if we just try to find a bunch of blue chip talents in the draft, hidden gems, etc. Next year is pretty much Super Bowl or bust in terms of calling Aaron Rodgers' trade a success. With that said, though, also I mentioned this already. I'm not really a fan of selling out per se to try to get a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. Meaning I don't want a Devontae Adams either. I don't want to have to try to trade for a Mike Evans or Calvin Ridley if they get tagged or something like that, right? I still want to know, because this is what if we think back to it, what excited us when JD and Salah originally came on was that we had been trashed for so long and we seen so much disconnect between head coach and GM, right? GM was generally safe. The head coach was generally looking at a dead man walking year, that we were drafting for the future. The head coach didn't have talent for the right now. When they came together, we actually seen a clear-cut plan. Okay, we're giving Sam Darnold his final shot. Cool. That didn't work out the way we wanted to. Okay, we're rebuilding around Zach Wilson. You get your quarterback in place. Now we got him a wide receiver 1. Cool. Now we got him a running back 1. Cool. We've been investing in the line for, years in a row now. Great. You built up the defense. Everything looked fine, right? And then things slowly started falling apart. But this last offseason around Aaron Rodgers was the first time where I obviously understood what they were doing, but I didn't see the clear-cut plan. It didn't feel like we were necessarily going all in with them, because why the hell are you getting 5 and 6, 34 plus year old players to bring in. And you don't really have a plan for the future anymore because Aaron Rodgers goes down, Zach Wilson comes in. You know the man is he's mentally tapped. This is the offseason where if Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh get back to their original recipe of just sticking to talent, get your top boarded guys, bring them in, address your free agency the way that we've seen before. High upside guys, it doesn't matter the age for me at that point. I think we'll be in a good place. But yeah, I'm not looking forward to the offseason necessarily where we bring in more veterans. We sell out for this full year. Because I'm also still in a shaky place with can Aaron Rodgers hold up next year? I know it's a freak play. Chop blocks, you come in, and Gunny pointed this out. I've said it on a couple shows too. That injury is fully Aaron Rodgers' fault. You should have got the damn ball out. Yep. And I knew what was going to happen as soon as it occurred because we've heard him say during the offseason, okay, with the weapons I have, with Garrett Wilson, I can wait just a tick bit longer because if I do that, it's most likely going to be a huge play, which is what he was doing there. He was hoping that slant got a little bit more open because Garrett Wilson was going to take it to the house. And then you get injured. So he still has the right mentality. I just don't think his body will hold up with what he's looking to do, right? So I don't know. The whole thing in my head is still a shit show right now. We'll see what the path ultimately ends up being. I'm not as mad anymore about if a Bakhtiari comes over, but it's still just question marks everywhere. Everywhere. To your point, Gino, what the hell are we going to do with Zach Wilson? Is he actually getting traded? If he does play an outstanding 5 games, do you change things all of a sudden and say, hey, Zach, this is the guy we've been looking for. Do you actually mind staying on for another year? We have your best friend here still, your big brother. Are you going to abandon your big brother, Zach?
Yeah, pretty much.
Can you stay here and we actually get you developed and then we give you the keys to the car again and hope you don't shit the bed? I'm over the whole thing. It would be nice to be in a situation where we have a CJ Stroud or somebody like that to just have that fresh perspective once again, right?
I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, everything these last 4 games are just going to, went from, hey, we're going to trade you. Hey, I'm not want to play if I'm going to get injured to now, oh, hey, Zach, hey, let's maybe stay. Let's see. No, it's just in Jets fashion, it's going to screw up somehow, and then we're going to get a middle draft pick, and then we won't make the playoffs. That's just how it is with us. This has been like this forever.
I'm not mad at us winning either, by the way. I've been trying to put this out there in my videos. We need to stop worrying about draft. I know it's great on paper, right? Oh, okay, we might get a Joe Alt. Okay, maybe we got a shot at a Marvin Harris. Oh, that's fine. And I understand having certain players can completely change how your offense or defense performs, but
right.
Chill. The Chiefs went from, winning a couple games they shouldn't have the year they drafted Patrick Mahomes. If you want to go out and acquire certain guys you fully believe in, you can get that done. That's not even our concern, right? Everybody's on the Aaron Rodgers boat, so we don't really expect to have to worry about a highly drafted quarterback anyways. What's the plan for the rest of the year? That would be my question to y'all, right? Generally, in years past, you say, okay, let all the young guys up. Let's see who we have faith in, and who's going to fall off, right?
Yeah.
The rest of this year doesn't really feel like that to me. We actually already are pretty much aware of who the guys we're going to try to focus and build around as a core are going to be. Maybe you want to figure out if some areas are truly a weakness or not. But I think I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty certain about who's getting cut and who we're not worrying about re-signing this year on both sides of the ball.
Yeah. I have a good idea. I have a good idea what I think. And also I hate talking about the draft around this time anyway. I was just putting out there that these are the 3 situations that is going on, but I don't think CJ is going to be back. I think Conklin will be back. I think Cook is an undecided for me. I think that's going to be a 50-50 thing, but I think Jefferson will be back, but Al Woods won't be back. And I think we'll definitely keep Ashton Davis. Mosley's kind of up and down. So I know they reconstructed his contract, but what do you think, Gunny?
In terms of what we do for the remainder of the season,
no. Like who would you see us keep, like going into next year? Like the people that are going to be free agents.
Well, I'll tell you this right now. I'm upset we're going to let go of Bryce Huff. I do think
me too.
Bryce Huff winds up getting traded. They're going to go ahead and do a sign and trade or something with that guy. I would love to see him back. I think it's dumb to not bring him back. Right now, he's leading the Jets with sacks with 7. The dude is a freaking nightmare. You saw him gave C.J. Stroud nightmares yesterday. So I think, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to keep him, man. I think we might wind up
agreed.
Losing Bryce Huff, and that breaks my freaking heart because I think this kid is earned a long-term deal with us.
What a gem, too.
How far we've come.
Like, right? I mean, he didn't even get drafted. We picked him up. It's crazy. Crazy.
I think, well, you can't get rid of CJ Mosley. He reworked his contract, so he's here for another 2 years. CJ Uzomah, you can't let him go either because he reworked his contract, so I think he'll be here at least for next year, which freaking sucks. It's just a waste of space. I think we're talking now in terms of Mekhi Becton.
Proven year, maybe? A proven year?
I think he'll get a proven year. I think he'll be willing to take a team-friendly deal to go ahead and get a chance to block for Aaron Rodgers. That relationship seems to be, getting better and better. I don't know if that's even a good thing or not. You've seen him struggle and be inconsistent all season. But at the end of the day, he's one of the offensive line that has rapport with the scheme, has rapport with the team. So I think he comes back. Man. I think unless we can get a 4th rounder for Zach Wilson, he'll come back. I don't think Joe's going to let him go for anything less than a 4th, maybe at worst case scenario a 5th. But I think Joe Douglas will keep for Zach. I think he'll keep him if he's if he can't get a 4th or a 5th for him. I don't think he goes anywhere. I know somebody was saying we're just going to cut Zach. We're not cutting Zach. Zach's not getting.
No, we're not. That's $11 million. That's not happening.
$11 million cap hit. That makes no sense. No. We're not going to cut him. At worst case scenario, he's freaking QB3. But man, in terms of this current roster, I think the defense is solid. There's nobody really on the defense side of the ball that, again, unless you're talking about Bryce Huff, that you have to really worry about losing. Quentin Johnson, I think, is going to need another contract. I think he was on 1 year.
They got 1 year. Quentin 1 year. Solomon got a 1 year.
Jefferson,
and
Lawson. What are they gonna do with Lawson?
Say Clark. I think the safety Clark is gonna go ahead and get re-signed. We traded for him. We never got a chance.
That's iffy territory.
Yeah, it is iffy territory, but I still think he will come back though.
It's not that I wouldn't. It's not that I wouldn't, but we've been in this. We've been in this exact situation. LaMarcus Joyner coming off injury. They talked about scheme familiarity, all that stuff. Obviously, in my opinion, Clark a better player. But then you talk about a room of having Ashton Davis potentially. He's looked great, right, this year. Actually, we shitted on him. Well, to a certain degree, we shitted on him like all offseason, right? Hated him. Facts. We wanted Trey Dean over him. They looked like they played about the same, talent-wise during the offseason. He's actually looked great this year. Cool. But small sample size. I think he's still under 150 snaps. You're talking about him potentially being a starter or Chuck Clark coming off a major injury. And I think Clark is like 34, 35, right?
No, Clark is young.
We got surprised by this before, right? He turned me like 27, 28.
Hold on. Here,
Hold on. We all thought he was old as hell.
I remember that.
We looked it up. We were like, what?
Yeah.
He is 28 years. 20. He just turned 28.
Yep,
that's crazy.
Yep, I was just like, we were surprised how young he was when we got him. That's what it was.
Okay, actually, it wouldn't be the worst thing. So the way that I would look at it then is you get Chuck Clark. You loved what he was going to bring to the defense, which is cool, but don't bet on it. You still have Ashton Davis, who I think you should bring back based on what he's done. And then you still are excited about a guy like Trey Dean and Jarek Bernard Converse that you have. So in terms of it being a homegrown kind of position, I don't think it's the worst situation. And then hopefully you can lean into Chuck Clark being your veteran.
Yeah, I think so.
I think we let go of Whitehead and we keep Clark, if I'm being honest.
I'm not a fan of Whitehead coming back. Yeah, I've been asking to let him go since last year.
Yeah.
I'm pissed with him. I'm pissed. That week 1 game was a complete outlier. Like that
was a
shit
fluke game.
So
that is not his true story. and we need
because he's not a coverage guy. So it blows me that we've been using him.
He's
as
a
more
hit
of a
hard coverage, but he doesn't.
What got me excited when I checked out his Buccaneers tape was that man was jumping the line of scrimmage like Troy Polamalu and rocking people.
Yeah,
and we never got that version.
No,
trash,
straight garbage,
absolute trash.
Taking out the trash.
Whitehead, by the way, you never know who's watching. I don't hate you, my guy. I just hate the way you play. I fucking hate it.
Big difference.
There's numerous examples of dudes across the league that have great form tackling. They don't even have to have elite. Good to great form tackling, and you see them absolutely obliterate the guy across from them. Your shoulder doesn't mean anything in this day and age. I guarantee you, if you gave us 5 chances across from Jordan Whitehead, one of us can slip or roll off that shoulder tackle of his.
Facts.
Like it's not that great. Cut it out, please. His career could have been great here. I was excited for him,
especially with the Revis connection. Like that's cool too. But
the bloodline stuff never usually means a whole ton to me. Like,
I know, but I'm saying that would have been cool.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean anything right now anymore.
I actually found it funny because I remember when we dropped one of the what's our podcast little thing? Not ours, but what's the One Jets Drive? When they had dropped the one when Revis came during the offseason, I was like, you don't really see Whitehead and Revis together so much. It was like DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner.
Yeah.
With him. And I was like, okay, you either don't respect him too much or you don't really fuck with that side of the family. Like
he probably doesn't think he's good enough to associate his name with him. And who are we to argue?
I'm not arguing with that.
Yeah, I'm with Darko, man. I would hate for Bryce Huff to go, man. Like I know it's gonna happen, so I'm preparing myself for it, but I'm hoping it doesn't happen, right? Like it's like preparing for the worst but hoping for the best. Bryce Huff should be a New York Jet for the next 3 to 4 years. I would love for him to be a part of the defensive line long term.
Let's think about it real quick. Who's been like a true ascending talent or like a top tier guy that we've let go since Joe Douglas has been here?
Cashman, linebacker.
He wasn't really an ascending talent like that, though. He was a guy that could never stay on the field. We liked what we've seen out of him as a tackling machine, but he didn't really have a rep with the Jets as being like a coverage guy, being somebody that racks up a bunch of tackles for loss. He wasn't an impact guy. He just put a lot of stats out there.
In the beginning, Louisville, but he became a little bit.
Frankie Louisville wasn't a guy then either.
I know. I'm talking about going to the Panthers, though. He did
based off of what you just said. Then there's nobody. There's nobody that's ascended like a Bryce Huff.
I'm sticking with Joe Douglas, and it doesn't have to be top tier level, but like when you start really taking a look at guys that they didn't bother to re-sign, that might have had a huge impact per se. You really can only point to the offensive line. You start talking about guys like George Fant, Morgan Moses, and really that's it. Like you can't really name anybody else as a wide receiver, running back, or anybody on the defense really that you say, well, damn, everybody knew we shouldn't have let him go, but we had to let him walk, or we let him walk anyways. Like even when you talk about the Lawrence Cagers, you think about
Pinnock,
I forget Pinnock, but it's not like he's a household name either just yet.
Yeah.
So
or Leonard Williams is not a household name yet either.
Yeah. So Joe Douglas' record in that area actually looks pretty good. Yeah.
So you think we signed Bryce Huff then?
So yeah, in other words, I'm saying we should give Joe Douglas the benefit of the doubt. I've been very confused about why a lot of people just automatically assume we're not going to re-sign Bryce Huff when we haven't shown a history of letting great talent go.
But this is why.
But
you drafted Will McDonald last year too high, and in essence, they're both the same player. They're both speed rushers that can get around on the edge. They're not really big enough to go ahead and help you out in run stopping, but you like freaking McDonald's length more so because he can go ahead and use those long arms to kind of make up for that. I think the competition comes down to those two individuals. It's an embarrassment of riches is what we currently have on the defensive line. And when you invest that high of a draft capital in a McDonald, you're going to have to shoot one of your freaking guys in the face. And I think that's why he winds up being him. Because he's not going to replace a Al, you know what I'm saying? Like he's not going to replace one of the guys in the middle. He's legitimately a defensive end, a speed edge rusher. And I think
we still got Johnson.
Yep. Like I hope I'm wrong, and I hope you're right, DK. I hope that they're like,
me too,
we
DK.
keep them regardless. But I look at it like that in terms of how you got to allocate the money. We don't have as much money as we did this past year coming into next year, so we're going to have to make some sacrifices. And unfortunately, I see him being dispensable because we've got in the wings a Will McDonald that can do a lot of what he does. And that's what sucks about it. And Jermaine Johnson's exploded onto the scene this year too. You're seeing him just get better and better with each. Now, I guess Carl Lawson will be gone. That's going to free up some money as well.
Well, yeah, he will. I don't think he's.
I was going to say, if you think about free agency, though, we don't expect to invest heavily on defense, right? You go out there, maybe you get you a safety. If not, you rely on drafting the undrafted free agency. You know, I listed plenty of the names that we have in the building already that can help. And then Chuck Clark should come cheap in and of itself, right? So you feel good at safety for replacing Jordan Whitehead already. You don't really need to touch the linebacker core at all. You have Sherwood that you still feel good about. You have Chaz Surratt, who Salah's already highlighted as a guy he feels a starter.
Good on special teams too. Good on special teams as well.
You have the UDFAs already back there that we've been letting sit for a while. Defensive tackle you need to invest in, but you're not going to go out and get you a $10 million guy. We've shown that we can do it with, you know, what it couldn't get, I think 5.5 or something like that.
Around there, 4.5. So, around there. Yeah.
You're spending less than about $8 million on a defensive tackle. You probably need at least 2 though, whether that's free agency in the draft, etc. And then on the offensive side, I don't think you maybe a wide receiver, but the max we're spending there is probably like a $12 million guy. And I'm not even sure who's all going to be in the running during this free agency period. So I don't think we're throwing as much money as maybe a lot of people think this offseason, which means that you can spend a lot of that on actually focusing on like the how the better regimes build themselves. They're going to extend their own talent rather than worrying about bringing in guys from outside.
True. As we close going into Dolphins week, anybody else got anything before we go?
Dolphins. Somebody said in the chat a little earlier too that he thinks I guess the rumor circulating around there is that the Dolphins might be sitting some people. I think it's a little early for that, but
yeah, it's way too early for that.
Yeah, I don't know. I really
doubt the Giants.
If McDaniel can beat 2 times on us, I would bank on that more.
My bad, y'all. I know I fell behind in the chat, but we was having some good stuff going on here. Xavier McKinney. Yeah, I don't know if I kind of like him, but he has an attitude issue too. I heard something crazy about him with the Giants where he basically like crapped on his position coach or something. And I don't know. He said something that was pretty abrasive that caught like the coaching staff off guard. Oh, that they weren't listening to him and other defensive leaders about how they thought certain things should go, which was news to them, which, you know, that's never a good sign. Either he's lying through his teeth or the you know, the coaching staff is trying to save face. But nonetheless, I wouldn't go that route. Dolphins thoughts. I don't expect them to rest starters. So with that said, I personally don't know. I actually had a poll going. Let me see. So interestingly enough, we had 13 votes. The question was, is there anything Zach can do to save his Jets career? We actually have 54% of people saying yes right now. I'm not there.
I'm not there.
If he had a game the rest of this year like he did with the Texans all throughout, I'm not sure that would be enough for me to say this is still our guy of the future. He could remain on the roster. You know, as Gunny pointed out, he could still be QB3 next year.
Right.
But I don't think you can, based on what we've seen, I don't think you can go into next year running back the same exact plan, which is Aaron Rodgers is our guy. Zach Wilson will learn directly from him as our main backup, and then we'll have whoever else. Zach Wilson needs to be locked in as your 3. Rodgers needs to be locked in as your 1. Go out and draft you a guy, you know, in day 3 or whatever that has the tools and can sit and learn for a couple of years. But back to the Dolphins. Yeah, I don't have anything crazy. I think going to their house, we're coming off a great week, which is cool. But it's tough to say. Like for as great as that game turned out to be, the first half was still 0-0. Things looked very ugly for us. That's not going to be the case with the Dolphins, right? So we could very well be looking at a game where things get out of hand early once again. And I don't know. I can't put faith in Zach Wilson's performing like he did against the Texans every week. I would probably say 13 to like 27 Jets L, if I had to put a number on it.
Oh, okay. What are you thinking, Gunny? Final thoughts?
I think it's going to be worse than that. I think the Dolphins are going to have fun at home. Temperature is going to have our boys a little gassed because it's supposed to be around 80 degrees. And, of course, with the way the Dolphin Stadium is where they have that sun pouring down on you, I think our defense is going to get agitated on having to keep coming back out there to play, and it's going to cost us, man. I got the Jets losing this one 28-10. I think it's going to be a pretty bad one, 28-10.
Yeah, it's not too bad, though. I just figured we kind of broke the touchdown levy now, so I figured we'll get at least one.
No,
I was thinking
28-10.
28-10. I was actually thinking 30-10. I think
Vikings
30
against Vegas.
I think 30 and then 10. Yeah, I could see it's either 10 or 13, but it's definitely going to be a Jets L. I think it, because here's the thing with that stadium, as Gunny said, like you could see all the hard knocks and the way they do it on purpose with the Dolphins. Is like, hey, McDaniel's like, hey, they look pretty hot over there. They ran around it all the way to the bench. I'm like, it does get pretty hot around that time. So that's what I think. But guys, thank you for guys in the chat for coming out. Also, thank you, Gunny, thank you, DK. Hey, we're here every week, every Monday at 2 p.m. me and Gunny's time, and then 12 p.m. DK's time. Keep sticking with us, and go Jets, baby. Follow our channels. Peace. ?